Yeah, what is going on, everybody? Welcome and thanks for joining us here at Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender. Andrew Cooper here by my side. What is going on, Coop? What an unbelievably wacky week 3 it was again. Underdogs toppling big time teams. The top 4 teams taken in survivor pools across the country gone, wiped out. I mean, it is incredible how topsy-turvy of a season we have right now. And we're already now looking at week 4 waiver wire action here because we got to pick up them pieces, man. There's a lot going on. How the hell are you?
It's crazy business, dude. I love the Survivor when you start seeing the tweets where people are like, yes, all these guys lost. Good thing I have the Bengals against Washington for the last game
All
of
right,
the
shut up.
week.
That's what I said yesterday.
That's exactly where you were at.
I got one bullet left in all. I've got 3 primary survivor pools. I had 2 in Circa Survivor. I had 5 in one pool and then 4 in another pool. And out of all of those, I have 1 bullet left. I took with the Bills last night. And so yeah, man, that's the way it is. I'm out of Circa Survivor. I'm out of the pool that I won last year. And so here we go. Fingers crossed.
We need it.
I only did
1 this year, and I lost in week 2. I did not think the Raiders were going to beat the Ravens. What in the heck is going on this year, Howard? What is happening? But, as always, we're going to dig through the data, pay attention to the important details, and we'll sort it out. And the more I see people going through and digging through the last few years, the first 3 weeks, it's not all that different than usual. Yes, scoring is down. That's the big thing, and that really hurts tight ends and a few other positions. But I mean, the more I go back and look at it, dude, this happens all the time. It's football. It's crazy. Enjoy it. It's wild. That's what makes it so much fun. Is that
you say enjoy it, but when you're investing thousands of dollars and it's a topsy-turvy NFL, it is it's tough to enjoy. You got to admit, it's very, very tough to enjoy.
Of course. But the thing is, it's just like poker. It's just like poker. Like, you're going to get bad hands, but if you work on being a better player and doing everything in your power, you give yourself that slight edge where over the grand scheme of things, over the long term, you'll generate a profit. And that's what we're here for. We're here to bring everybody back to reality and say, okay, here's what happened. Here's what's going to happen moving forward. We got 3 weeks of data. It's all good, Howard. It's all good, brother.
It's all good. I mean, listen, I started diving in first thing this morning. I got my old school little notepad going on here where I'm like, scribbling down matchups and who looks good in wet spot. And, I just posted another video on my TikTok for week 4 waiver claims to stream. Yesterday, I posted about waiver claims to keep an eye out for. I also did a video at Fantasy Alarm leading into your articles. And then that brings us here today. We're not here to piss and moan about what was. We're here to take a look at how to fix everything with what will be. So NFL week 4 here. Unless, Coop, you want to take a victory lap for any particular calls that you made last week that you just want to shout out.
I say we get into it. I will say this, Howard. One thing, I will victory lap one thing because it's so crazy this year. I am the one and done baby bowl. I wrote the one and done article this year. I am in first place in that. And there's like over 100 people in that one. So feeling good about that. But everything else, yeah. I mean, we're doing all right, dude. We're doing all right.
We're doing all right. We are. Okay. That's a real ringing endorsement there, but okay.
We're hanging in.
One of the main focuses that we have here today are waiver wire. So if you're watching us on Twitter, do us a favor, jump over to YouTube just for a quick sec if you can. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You never want to miss a show that we do over here. We also have a ton of video shorts. And of course, Coop and I do our lineup discussion show on Wednesdays. Eric Romoff and John Impemba on Thursdays. Coop on Sunday mornings. Me on Sunday. We're all over the place, keeping you 100% covered. So throw us a like and a subscribe over at our YouTube page there. And if you haven't subscribed to Fantasy Alarm yet, listen, you're going to get Coop's, waiver wire ads article for free. But also hidden underneath there is his streamers article and his stashes article. Those are all behind the paywall. So If you don't subscribe to Fantasy Alarm, you can either zap this QR code that's right here above me, or go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro. If you sign up for the monthly, use that promo code Let's Go. It'll take 50% off your first month. Or if you sign up for the annual, that's already built into the price to have 40% off taken there. But if you go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro, sign up for either the monthly or the annual, we'll give you a 7-day free trial. Take it for a spin, see how you like it, see if it works for you, and do it while you can. Now, I know that 7-day free trial possibly could be going away soon, so now is the time to take advantage of it, because you'll get everything here for NFL Week 4. Did I leave anything out?
I think you hit it all, brother. I think you hit it all. Get that free trial, win some money on DFS, and then you can just keep it with all the money you've won. It's the easiest way to take care of things. But why don't we jump in and you're running the show today, Howard? We can do questions. We can do hit on our favorite picks, whatever you feeling, buddy.
Well, I mean, do you feel the need? Do you want a victory lap? I'll say hi to everybody in chat, but go ahead, Coop. Take a little trip around the block and puff your chest out a little bit. Who did you right this week?
So some guys that we hit on, and again, for me, what I find, Howard, is when we do the YouTube show on Sunday morning, and somebody mentioned in the chat, shout out to Eric, who listens to us on the Sirius XM, but we do the YouTube show as well. That's where I really find out like what guys I'm really in on versus what I'm not. Because when those questions come in, like 100, 200 questions, I find myself saying the same names over and over again. Get this guy in there, get that guy in there. And I'll tell you, we told a lot of people to start Zach Charbonnet this week. So when he scored 2 touchdowns, that felt pretty good. You and I, going through the entire offseason, have been high on Rashee Rice. We like the player. We just had to sort out what his legal status was. And, in our best ball stuff, we never moved him down. We moved him around in some other stuff, but a lot of our folks got Rashee Rice. He's looking awesome. And then Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was at the top of the waiver wire article last week as somebody, because people picked up Baker Mayfield, people picked up Derek Carr. We were running out of options. Well, Sam Darnold came out through 4 touchdown passes, which that feels pretty nice. Leading the league in touchdown passes, Mr. Sammy D. So those were the good points. Howard, what about you?
First and foremost, documented on Sirius XM, just for everybody who listens over there. I said it before the season started that y'all are sleeping on Sam Darnold, that he doesn't need to be this 300-yard, 3-touchdown guy every single week. He just needs to be efficient and get the ball into the hands of his playmakers. Now, I said people were worried that Addison was going to be out to start, that Hawkinson was going to be out to start. But Darnold had no issues. Solid week 1 effort. Week 2, he threw for like 268 and 2 touchdowns. Now he just threw for another 4 here in week 3. So, again, not saying that Sam Darnold is the be-all, end-all, but this is a guy who has strong playmakers. He's getting Addison back. He will eventually get Hawkinson back. What's the problem there? Why does it doesn't always have to be a big superstar name. Everybody sits there and they're like, I'm going to trade for Josh Allen. I'm going to trade for, Kyler Murray. I'm going to trade for Jalen Hurts. And the problem is that you have to give up. You have to pay to play in that realm. So what's wrong with using a quarterback of a lower stature who's still getting strong point totals there, like a Derek Carr, like a Sam Darnold? Just makes no sense. Everybody thinks that they need to assemble this super team like you see in the NBA. It's not the way it works in fantasy. Definitely not.
And then this is why we say week 3 is our big week. Like going through 3 weeks into week 4, this is our big week, because you look at it with a guy like Sam Darnold and you say, okay, week 1, he plays the Giants. Okay, it's the Giants. Let's see what happens next. Then he plays the 49ers and he looks good against the 49ers. And you say to yourself, okay, we only have 2 games here. One versus an easy team, one versus a tough team. Maybe we have something. Let's add this guy. Week 3, he goes up against the Texans and he looks great again. And now we say to ourselves, okay, maybe this guy is good. Now let's really get him in there. Let's get him going. So this is a very important week for waivers here. And the other part I just wanted to make on the quarterback thing, same goes for tight end, is that we preach all the time. If you wait on these positions, you can load up on running back and wide receiver where it's a little safer, and then you can kind of scrap around at these positions. And I'll tell you what, the people that drafted some of these tight ends and QBs high, not all of them. I mean, some of them are doing okay, but it's not just about the fact that Sam Laporta and George Kittle's hurt and Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews aren't doing anything for you. It's the fact that you could have taken a totally different player in the 3rd or 4th round, a Rashee Rice or Chris Godwin or Alvin Kamara, and you use that on that other spot. So this is why we preach some of those things. But again, that's it for that. And Howard, you got some victory lapping to do.
Sure.
Your guy,
listen,
DK
Metcalf.
I
told everybody about DK Metcalf
Yes.
before the season started. I got so much critique from people because I ranked him 9th overall at wide receiver this season, and people are like, "How could you put him in the top 10? Tyler Lockett's there. JSN's going to be a baller, and blah blah blah." And I described to you what Ryan Grubb's offense was going to be like, and then coming into this week, I got the old. If we can get that SpongeBob gif, but Jalen Ramsey's covering him. Ramsey's not, he wasn't following DK Metcalf around. They moved DK Metcalf all over the field there. That's what Ryan Grubb's offense definitely does. And what happened? DK Metcalf ended up getting into the end zone. Ramsey wasn't even on him at that point. I mean, this is what Ryan Grubb's offense does. He gets that focal point on that one receiver and then throws out a ton of misdirection, trying to just kind of figure out, isolate his guy in one-on-one coverage.
We've done that. They've said that to you 3 weeks in a row, Howard. They said Christian they said what is it? It was Patrick Surtain week 1, and then Christian Gonzalez week 2, which I was the one saying that in week 2, actually. So when I say I was actually part of they. And then week 3, once again, with Jalen Ramsey, it's like, no one's matchup proof, but like you said, Ryan Grubbs, the way he would move Rome Odunze around at Washington, that's what he's doing with DK. He's finding the spots.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I also told everybody that this was going to be Jamar Chase's breakout week, 2 touchdowns for him. He's like, his receiving yards prop was like 80.5. I told people to smash that. I don't want to upset Jerry Nelson too much here. But I did tell everybody about Zach Moss too. The game script did not fall the way I thought it was going to. And, up yours, Cincinnati, just showing me again what kind of a garbage city you are, that I took the Bengals and you screwed me now twice in Survivor in a 3-week span. But I was right about Zach Moss being that guy that they utilized. We talked about this with the way Zach Taylor runs his offense. The Bengals had the fewest rushing attempts in the NFL in 2023, yet Joe Mixon ranked in the top 5 for rushing attempts for a running back. They like the bell cow. Yes, you saw Chase Brown get mixed in a little bit, but this was Zach Moss's time again. And that touchdown that came in at the end, costing Jerry his game. I'm sorry, Jerry, but what are you going to do? And then my final victory lap, I told everybody to go out after week 2, and it wasn't about who you were claiming in week 3. It was about watching who was being dropped. Actually, it was between week 2 and week 3. I said, watch who gets dropped after waiver claims, because that's who you want. You want to start picking those guys up because people make mistakes and people panic. And I went and I looked in multiple leagues and found Deontay Johnson sitting there on the waiver wire.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I mean, 13 targets, played the entire game. Andy Dalton loves him. And now Adam Thielen, he scored a touchdown. On that touchdown, hurt his hamstring. They put him on IR. So, boom, shakalaka. I'll tell you what, Howard, big fantasy. If you were on the Twitter last night during the game, big fantasy wants Chase Brown bad. Big fantasy is pushing the Chase Brown narrative bad. But Zach Moss, man, he just keeps getting it done. Scored that touchdown in crunch time. I mean, sorry, what are you going to do?
So he's that's what Tony worked. Pollard. What didn't work, guys like Travis Kelce, guys like Kyler Murray, guys like Zamir White. Terrible. And that's a whole other thing. That was the video I did yesterday talking about the backfields. Zamir White losing ground to Alexander Madison. What was the other one I talked? Oh, Javonte Williams.
Yeah. I am 0 for 3 on predicting what the heck is going to happen with the Raiders games, man. They get beat by 2 scores against the Chargers, right? And I'm like, okay. Then they go out and beat the Ravens, which, I mean, come on. And then this week, the Panthers beat them by 2 scores. I mean, I'm done. I'm done trying to figure out what's going on with that team. And I'll tell you what, one I had, Devontae Adams, I figured, hey, good spot for him. And even the scary part is that you would think that if the Panthers were doing well, they would have to throw more. he got 9 targets, did nothing with him. So my guy Devontae, I mean, targets are targets, but 4 catches for 40 is not going to do it from a guy that I was drafting in the second and third round. Hunter Henry. So Hunter Henry, yeah. So I actually reached out to a beat writer. Shout out Mike Cadlick. I was like, dude, what the heck happened here? And he said that yesterday. So because they played on Thursday, they had practice yesterday. They don't have to put out an injury report, but Hunter Henry was not at practice, so he thinks he might be banged up a little bit. So that's his. I mean, he's just guessing. He said that. So, but that's the case there. We'll have to see. And then, dude, the big one, man, that hurt my feelings. Oh, dude, just I couldn't believe it. Rashid Shaheed, in what should have been an absolute smash spot, gets 5 targets. And if you watch the end of the game, these were some of these were very, very catchable that could have been 50, 60-yard plays. Catches 0 of them. Goose egg from the golden god, Rashid Shaheed.
Dude, it was like, I mean, listen, it was the ultimate rug pull right there. We talk about this just when you want to, throw accolades towards Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield and say, these are the guys that we want in there. Boom, immediate rug pull. And you get, slapped back into reality. It's not that they're bad. It's just that they are not consistent. And, you have to look at it from a week to week standpoint. You have to, in a lot of ways, there are things that you can take from week to week. Snap counts, game plan, stuff like that. Like, usage rates for different guys, right? Routes run for tight ends. But you have to look at the upcoming matchup. That takes precedent because these coaches will change things around like immediately if they see a better matchup to exploit. That's what it was. I mean, listen, how many people thought that the Commanders coming in were just going to get housed by the Bengals, right? I mean, it was, so it was not good.
And folks,
all right,
folks got to understand out here that when we do these segments, hottest team in football, hottest QB in football, to a certain degree, we're making fun of
There's some sarcasm
how
there.
stupid that term, the term hottest QB in football, like it's silly business, so keep that in mind when we're doing that. We're trying to make sure people are looking at the right details.
All right, well, there we go. So a little bit of stank from week 3. We'll try and shrug that off. We'll look ahead to week 4. Let's go to the chat room here. Say hi to everybody who's in there. Mile High Luke's in there. Jerry Nelson's in there. I saw Ann Dunn in there as well. Rod Elliott making an appearance here, and he's already working the trade phones now. It's a waiver show, but I don't mind throwing this down here for Rod. He's got an offer of Garrett Wilson and Travis Kelce for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Javonte Williams. He's got Mark Andrews. So, I don't think that to add a struggling top tier tight end to your already struggling top tier tight end, I don't know if that's the move. Like, here's the problem for me, Coop, is that it's redundant to have the 2 tight ends there, unless you're definitely planning on flexing 2 tight ends for the majority of your season. Garrett Wilson versus Marvin Harrison Jr. Who's the more explosive player right now? Who's seeing the attention right now? Because then it's like, well, then you're giving up on Javonte. You're using him as like a throw in here, basically. Right. And the question is how does that backfield shake out? So he says he's got your thoughts here. What? Oh, he's got Andrews.
Yes, Andrews.
I thought he said he had Andrews' thoughts. Now he's got Mark Andrews.
Well,
so what do you think, man? Would you make this move?
Now, to me, it boils down. So, like, to me, Garrett Wilson to Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't necessarily a wash, but I think it's close enough where the trade really ends up being Javonte for Kelce. You know what I mean? So I think I would honestly want to be on the Wilson and Kelce side and just say to myself, you know what? I'll have Andrews and Kelce and I'll go down swinging. I mean, last year, and I tweeted this out, last year, a couple weeks in the season, people were like, George Kittle stinks now. Is he washed? They were asking Shanahan about it. And Shanahan's like, you know what? Sometimes he's got to block. It's only been a couple games. And then from that point on through the rest of the season, he was a top 5 tight end in fantasy, right? It's like, for me, the chances that one of these 2 guys can get it together and become consistent are pretty good. You know what I mean? It's hard to sit here and say I'd rather have this guy or that guy because of how tough it's been. But if you have both of them, I think it actually gives you a pretty big advantage. So, and Javonte, as big of a fan as we are of him, it's like he's just not putting it together, man. And Jaleel McLaughlin being put in as a goal line back, as much as it doesn't make sense to us because of given the size of this player, right? It's like we have to respect what they're doing and what we're seeing. So I don't know. Javonte gets back in the doghouse.
He's definitely in the doghouse. So it does seem like a positive move for you here, Rod. So we'll put the stamp of approval on that one. Say hi to Ponch. What's going on? Albert's in here. Angie's got Metcalf everywhere. Of course you do, Angie.
Love it.
Because you're a smart player.
Sharp.
Let's go over here. I got Joshua K, who's definitely all psyched up about being here, being part of the fam. Appreciate that very much, Josh. Always love that. Here we go. Waiver question here. Mile High Luke says Chuba's on waivers in the FFPC. Got dropped on Wednesday. Could pick him up. Need a solid RB2 for that team. How much fab of the 950 does he drop? 60 to 70%? That seems heavy, but we already know what Dave Canales likes to do. And we saw it with Chuba. Like, he was on the field. He was getting work in this game. Now, also a positive game script for Carolina this time. How often do we see that happening for Chuba? That's why I pulled back from the 60 to 70%, but I still want to get him.
Yeah, I have a rule. My rule of thumb is anytime a player goes directly into my lineup, I'm willing to spend 20 to 25%. Like, if I'm going to start that player this week, that's kind of the floor that I'm setting it. So you got to be at least there. The problem, obviously, though, is that we expect Jonathan Brooks to come back and be the starting back here. Now, there is a world where Jonathan Brooks either A, isn't ready to go after the first 4 weeks, or B, plays like a rookie and just gets a partial snap share. But, I mean, you don't usually draft a guy in the second round as the first RB off the board if you're not going to utilize him. So for me, I'm probably trying to keep that closer to 40 at 40 max. Yeah. I can't drop that much of my fab on a guy that I don't think is going to be in my lineup come playoff time.
Yeah, right. I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that one as well. Jerry saying Chase Brown looked good. Yeah. Oh, this one here. This one's a big one. CMC going to Germany does not sound good at all. He's going to spend a couple of days having that Achilles tendonitis looked at by some sort of German professional.
I don't know, dude.
I'm like salivating here thinking about starting Jordan Mason come my fantasy playoffs.
Who is this? I want to know who this mystery doctor is that the calf wizard out in Germany, dude. I mean, like, well, who is this guy, dude?
Dr. Fixitstein.
Like, Dr. Fixitstein gonna blitzkrieg that calf. I mean, he better get it going quick and send that guy right back, because I don't know. There are a couple spots. There's a couple spots where I did have the first pick overall, and I took Christian McCaffrey. So
yeah, I hear you. All right. Josh talking about the fact that he found Deontay and Christian Kirk on the waiver wire in the last few weeks. Good job. Very good job. We saw a little bit of life out of Christian Kirk last night, but my Lord, that Jaguars team looks lost, Coop.
Looks bad, dude. And I'll tell you what you saw from Christian Kirk and Brenton Strange, that's because the Bills are missing their two best linebackers, Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. Mark Andrews gets the Bills this week. If Mark Andrews doesn't do anything against that Bills defense, missing their top two coverage linebackers, it's panic time 1,000%. That's why for me with Andrews, I'm giving him one more week. This is it. If he can't do it again in these conditions, I mean, then there's something clearly very wrong that goes beyond what they're telling us. And I think it could be related to the car accident. It could be related to the tightrope surgery, or maybe, guys, maybe at 29 years old, he's just no good anymore, which, I mean, it's hard to stomach, but sometimes that happens. Whatever it is, if he doesn't do it this week, you really have to panic.
Yeah, I hear you. Chris Diaz wants to know what we think about starting Kyron Williams against the Bears. We'll be doing our start sit show tomorrow. Today's focusing on waivers. Listen, why wouldn't you start Kyron Williams against the Bears? I mean, they do have a decent defense, but he's still the lead running back for the Rams. And you look at his usage. You look at what they do. They have no problem handing the ball off to him at the goal line. No problem whatsoever. So
52 of 59 snaps for Kyron Williams. That's anybody. You can name any player in the league, Howard. Literally anyone. If you told me that Joshua Kelly was going to get 52 of 59 snaps, I would start that guy because no one's doing that, you know? So you just got to hold your nose to start him in every matchup because he plays the entire game. Same with Zach Charbonnet. That's why we were starting Zach Charbonnet. Do we think he's incredible? Nah, not really. But if he's going to play the entire game, there's too much value there.
Something to look at with Romo Dunze as well in Chicago, for that matter, right? I mean, that dude played what, 80 some odd snaps this past week, and he's like, he's definitely leading that way for rookie wide receivers. DM7819 says he's looking towards week 5 buys. See, look at that. Everybody's just kind of don't look too past week 4, but it's good to check it out here. He's got 2 running backs on a bye, and he's got the number 2 waiver spot. Would you normally use it or wait to see who's dropped this week? Corum is probably the only person that he's able to drop right now. I mean, I don't know who's on your waiver wire right now from the running back position, but overall, Coop, what would you say the running back position looks like for waivers this week? Because I'm thinking hold the priority for when you really need it.
Yeah, I mean, he probably has a little deduction here. Howard tells me that if he has Corum on the bench and his starting running back is going to be on bye, and the Rams are on a week 5 bye, I'm guessing you do have Kyren Williams. And if you have Kyren Williams, I'm not dropping Blake Corum until I have to, just to be, you know what I mean, to stay safe on that. So I would wait one more week. There's nothing out there that really jumps out, you know what I mean? And like some of the guys that are available that you might consider might also be on bye for that week. Like, like Tajay Spears got more work. I would wait. There's nothing crazy you need to drop the hammer on right now. Maybe if Rico Dowdle's out there, but how many guys on the wire right now are actually even playing more than half the snaps or even splitting the snaps?
No, it's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Jerry Nelson's got Trey McBride, who is in concussion protocol right now. Needs to pick up a tight end. Any suggestions? What's the tight end landscape look like for you? I'm just gonna say it right now. Who I like at the tight end spot. Don't laugh. But this week, Hayden Hurst from the Chargers. Chiefs ranked 22nd in DVOA against the tight end position, but it's not so much about that ranking, which is not good. It's the fact that the opposition is averaging more than 10 passes per game to the tight end when they play the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are allowing an average of over 111 receiving yards to tight ends. Like all of a sudden now it's like, okay, possible change at quarterback. I don't know if we're going to get Taylor Heineke, if we're going to see Justin Herbert, but I'll tell you what, a short pass to the tight end sounds pretty yummy to me.
And not to mention, the Chargers have only attempted 66 passes. You can't do that. You can't get away with that. You could do that for short periods of time. You can't do that against the Chiefs. You can't walk in. I mean,
especially without Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, who are both hurt.
They're going to lose by, I mean, like, unless you just do that one year, the Jaguars just lied down and handed the ball to James Robinson every week until they lost. Like, unless you are actually going to do that, you have to put up a fight against the Chiefs. To put that in perspective, 66 attempts, Howard. The Cowboys have attempted 125. 66, I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's non-football. And if you start sorting through the Hayden Hurst numbers to see the percentages, his percentages aren't even bad. His snap percentage is good. His route percentage is good. For Nate Yonke over at PFF, Hayden Hurst is one of only like 8 tight ends that leads his team in 11 and 12 personnel snaps. It's just they're playing Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman's ground and pound circus show, but like you can't do that against the Chiefs. So I don't think it's crazy at all. Jerry, I'd also, as a spot start, it might, some people think this is nuts, but I'll tell you what, if you picked up Trey McBride last year, the moment Zach Ertz got hurt, you were looking pretty good. And I'll tell you, the 49ers have a player who is a converted wide receiver that is eligible at tight end. His name's Elijah Higgins. He played wide receiver at Stanford. Then the Dolphins converted him to a tight end. And then the Cardinals picked him up. Last week when, I know it was very short at the end of the game, but when Trey McBride was out, he ran 10 routes. Tip Ryman only ran 1. And this guy already caught a touchdown pass in week 2. Like, this guy is a wide receiver. So it's not, if you're really deep leagues, it's not crazy to spot start Elijah Higgins. We'll be using him in DFS probably if Trey McBride's out.
Yeah, no doubt. Super cheap.
Free.
Mrs. Majors looking to stream some defenses, Minnesota or Tennessee. So you got the Vikings who, let's face it, their defenses looked absolutely spectacular through the first 3 weeks of the season. They're traveling to Green Bay. Maybe Jordan Love is back. We're going to have to wait and see about that. I think he's going to be in practice during the week. So could be against a banged up Jordan Love, or it could be up against Malik Willis, who's probably riding a little high from his big win over his former team. Or how about those Tennessee Titans going up against the Miami Dolphins, who likely to make that move? Skylar Thompson, chest injury. I heard rumblings about possible punctured lung, things like that going on, which to me makes sense that they would be making that move over to Tyler Huntley as their starting quarterback. And Huntley filled in fairly well while he was with the Ravens. Nothing crazy, nothing huge, but fairly well.
Right. You mean Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley?
What's that?
Remember that year he made the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
Pro Bowl. Because everybody's like, didn't want to go. And he's like, I'll go.
He's like, I'm there. Why not?
Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. Put some respect on it.
Free trip to Orlando.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Miss Majors actually took a look at my streamers article, because those are the two defenses I have listed, right? I have the Vikings and the Titans listed with the write-ups, and then the honorable mentions are the Dolphins coming back against the Titans, and then the Arizona Cardinals, who the Cardinals defense has actually been playing pretty well, and they get Washington, but maybe Washington not that good a matchup anymore. I look at it this way, Miss Majors. I always prioritize a defense that I might be able to use for multiple weeks. So when we look at the Vikings, they might flat out be a good defense. They just played really well against the 49ers and the Texans. So I would grab them. You can use them this week, maybe next week. Unfortunately, I think they have a bye week 6. So no matter what, you're still in streamer land. But like if you use the Titans this week, are you going to use them again next week against they go on bye next week, so the Titans are literally only a 1 week play. Right. So I would go with Minnesota.
All right. Mile High Luke says that Najee Harris, he heard AC joint sprain. Is Cordarrelle Patterson a priority add with both Najee and Jaylen Warren dinged up? I think it was Mike Tomlin who said that he pulled Warren from the game because it just didn't look right. So, I listen, I can't get behind Cordarrelle Patterson in any way, shape, or form. It is, though, against the Colts, and the Colts have been bad.
And it's also Arthur Smith. That's what we have to also kind of throw in there. It's Arthur Smith. I mean, the AC joint sprain, that's like the number one injury for running backs and also for Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen will always deal with those. The guy that, that really derailed his career with that is Dalvin Cook. I mean, I guess if you're lowering your shoulder all game, that's what's going to happen. So I don't know if that is scary for Najee Harris, because you can only play through so much of that. If that's the main brunt of the contact. So I don't know. We'll have to see that, but they don't have anybody else. I mean, I'm taking a quick look right now on the practice squad. Aaron Champlin, Jonathan Ward. So unless it's going to be Cordarrelle Patterson for the short term, they would have to go elsewhere to find somebody. So for now, maybe stash Patterson. If Mile High, I know you play a lot of FFPC. If it's a deep league like that, then yeah, you got to grab anybody that could get half a job or more.
Yeah. Jaleel McLaughlin on waivers here also. Fab bid percentage, where are you at with McLaughlin? I'm thinking somewhere in like the 12 to 15% range, because I do think that he's going to be a popular ad. Anytime a guy gets into the end zone at the expense of another running back, always gets a look. Yeah,
Javante's getting all the pass work, but Jaleel still gets in there on rundowns. And don't worry about Tyler Beatty. He didn't play until the game was out of hand. So yeah, people looking at that and saying, "Oh, look at the carries for Beatty. He got 9 carries." It's like he got 9 carries when the game was over. So don't worry about any of that. I think, again, if it's the same team where you have that nobody in the RB2 spot, you have to go for anybody that's playing at least like 40% of the snaps. So I don't know, maybe 10, 15%. We just don't like the player, right, Howard?
Yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to, is not liking the player. I still think there's a lot of sorting out to do from this Denver backfield. So, these aren't guys who I'm willing to start. Unless I'm absolutely desperate, they're not guys who I'm willing to start. So I'll park Javonte on the bench and see what happens. I don't need to add Jaleel McLaughlin unless I have that extra bench spot to give. and then I can kind of, keep them both parked on the bench and see what happens. But
this might be a good time, Howard.
Comes down to who you're dropping.
This might be a good time, Howard, to just jump in and I'll hit some RBs I do like. You know what I mean?
We're going for it.
A lot of those.
You got the articles out there on Fantasy Alarm. Throw out the RBs that you like.
So here's what we're doing. We split everything up, 3 articles. The top ads are guys that we think can actually take over a starting job either now or in the near future. Okay. So number 1, we're looking at Bucky Irving. He's already been more efficient. He's getting more carries. And Todd Bowles just came out and said this week, I got the quote right here. The opportunities he gets, he makes the best of it. He's a heck of a football player. We just have to get him more opportunities. That's what you want to hear. And it might be from the Bruce Arians school of use the media to motivate your other guy. Bruce Arians used to always do that too. He would just he'd be like, these guys suck. I remember one time with the Cardinals, Howard, he said, we only got 2 wide receivers on the team, Larry Fitz and Smoke Brown, right? Just to motivate the other guys. But sometimes he's telling the truth here. So we have to take that into account. Rico Dowdle, if he's there, Zeke Elliott is falling way on the back burner. He only played 15 snaps this week. Rico played 30. He started. He's gotten 5 targets in back-to-back games. I mean, at this stage, it's not really a battle. Unless Zeke really comes back or Dalvin Cook, they activate him and he's something. Rico's the guy. And there's just no guys on waivers that are leading their team and staffs. And then the last one, Howard, shout out to you on this one. You were looking at the Bears. We were looking at Khalil Herbert. I kind of think Roshan Johnson after this week is looking like a guy to potentially throw on benches as well. So keep an eye out for him. DeAndre Swift has looked awful, man. I think the Bears fell for the same trick the Panthers fell for last year. The same trick that I fell for, where it's like you got a running back that's really good on the Eagles, and then you pay him a bunch of money, and then it turns out he's not that good. I think it happened with Miles Sanders going to the Panthers, and now it's happened again with DeAndre Swift. If you need streamers this week, same names really. Cam Akers obviously played more than or they played the same amount, but Akers got all the carries. So Dario Ubawale, we're hoping he gets some carries. He didn't. Emmanuel Wilson, just because it's a 2-man show and Josh Jacobs has been banged up and they want to run a ton. And then Justice Hill against the Bills. You can throw against the Bills to the running back with the linebackers down. So that's where we're at. And then just to wrap it up, stashes. Let's say your team is doing really good and you're loaded up at running back, and the only thing that's ever going to crack your lineup is if somebody breaks out like crazy, like Jordan Mason. Same guys, Braylon Allen, throw him on the bench. Ray Davis, Tyrone Tracy now popping a little bit.
Yeah.
Trey Benson, we just haven't really seen it yet, but again, injury-prone guy. Look around and say to yourself, what offense do I like? What backup is actually talented? And what happens if the starter gets hurt? That's how you hit the home runs. Those are the guys, particularly Braylon Allen and Ray Davis, right, Howard?
Particularly Braylon Allen and Ray Davis. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's where we're at.
Let's go to wide receivers then. Let's talk about some of your favorites, just because here's a question here from John Sink, wants to know about Tutu Atwell. Right? We sat there all last week trying to figure out, was it going to be Demarcus Robinson? Was it going to be Tyler Johnson? Was it going to be Jordan Whittington? Turns out it's Tutu Atwell. The familiarity is there with Matthew Stafford, but the question is sustainability. And is Stafford more likely to spread it around to his guys as opposed to staying somewhat focused on Tutu Atwell?
Yeah, and this week, these players, the Rams players, the ones that people are talking about, Demarcus Robinson and Tutu Atwell, they kind of showed us both sides of the variability of the high ADOT guys. Like, look at what we got from Demarcus Robinson this week was the same thing we got from Rashid Shaheed. He was running high ADOT routes and he didn't catch any of them. And that's what it looks like. The ADOT for Demarcus Robinson this week was 28 yards. They were just sending him, and he caught one of them for 32 yards, but he didn't catch the other ones. That's what happens. Tutu Atwell is the same guy, 20-yard ADOT. He's fast as all hell, but he's usually just a field stretcher. Those aren't usually the guys I target unless it's standard leagues. I'm looking for guys that can give me sustainable usage, either a spot start that I can really trust or sustainable usage. So for me, the guy you have to go for if you need a guy to start for you right now is Juwan Jennings, right, Howard? I mean, we're not chasing touchdowns. We're chasing the fact that he went right into that role and they used the fullback for a ton of snaps and they used 2 wide receivers. It's Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel in most cases. When Deebo's out, it's Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings. And we'll take that all day long, especially when CMC's out, especially when George Kittle's out. I mean, conditions are perfect. Now, if you want probably the more sustainable long-term ad, you got to look at Darnell Mooney right now. As much as we want, and again, he's rostered in a lot of leagues, but he might be out there. As much as we want them to throw it to Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan, we can't make them. And I'm starting to think Darnell Mooney last year, coming off the tightrope surgery, just like Tony Pollard, did not look right. He did not look healthy. This year, he looks good, man. He looks fast. He's all over the place. He was a near miss from having 150 yards the week before. This week he came out, was a focal point of the offense. Got to get him added. And then the other guy we've had in our stashes article all year long, Josh Downs, comes out week 1, matches Michael Pittman with 5 targets. He's not like a throw the bag at him guy type yet, because he still only played the slot snaps, kind of like Jaden Reed does. But I mean, for him to show up having not practiced or played and to get 5 targets right away in a game where 5 targets ties for the lead, definitely interesting. For streamers, Juwan Jennings, top streamer for sure. The other one, Howard, Michael Wilson right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Greg Dortch is banged up, Trey McBride's in concussion protocol. Washington DVOA against wide receivers is bad. Not just the number 1, but also the number 2. In fact, their DVOA is worse against the number 2. So Michael Wilson's a hot spot. And then you brought the news to me that Adam Thielen on the IR. He's going to miss 4 weeks. So I had Xavier Leggett as a streamer, but he might just be a flat out ad now. What do you think, Howard?
I mean, I gotta look at. I mean, I guess Thielen landing on IR is designated to return. Is he just going to miss the 4 weeks? I don't mind adding Leggett as a possible guy to sit on my bench and watch and see what happens. Again, we have to it's real easy to get caught up in the fact that the Carolina Panthers got Andy Dalton back and then smacked the crap out of out of the Raiders. And now they go and they take on Cincinnati this week in week 4. And we saw Cincinnati's defense get absolutely decimated by Washington. And, Andy Dalton revenge game and, who are the guys, so you have to like Leggett stepping in for Thielen, still going to probably split some snaps with Jonathan Mingo. Know that the number 1 there is Deontay Johnson. So, I'm fine with adding him if you're dropping somebody who's, not really that productive or not in a good situation. Like, again, I've never been one of those people who constantly churns over my my bench, right? I draft guys at the back end of my draft to look and see what happens with them, right? I don't just draft them so that I can drop them in week 2 or week 3 because they haven't been producing yet. And some flavor of the week, turns out with, 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. So, you have to be careful with what you're doing there. So I'm lukewarm on adding the depth receivers for Carolina, because I think that when push comes to shove, even in a good matchup here against the Bengals, it's the top guys who are going to probably pop the most.
Exactly. So I would stick with, if you're streaming, Juwan Jennings, Michael Wilson, and maybe Jalen Nailor, because we've seen the nail gun come out and have kind of he's had 3 touchdowns 3 weeks in a row, and he is the second target after Justin Jefferson, and we like Sam Darnold. For stashes, we're, like Howard said, we haven't changed up much in our stash article because we like these guys, and the idea is still there. So it's still Romeo Doubs waiting for Jordan Love to come back. He is the top guy on that team in terms of routes and snaps. Everybody else is rotating, including the tight ends and the running backs. Not Romeo Doubs. He's out there every snap. Jalen McMillan, again, same plan, double handcuff plus. Anything happens to Mike Evans, who's 30 years old, anything happens to Chris Godwin, who's been injury prone, Jalen McMillan, he beat out Trey Palmer, wasn't even a question, and he's the third guy, becomes the second right away. And then the last one, Jalen Polk. We're looking at it and saying, okay, he played 18 of 20 snaps in the first 2 drives this week. He's working his way up. And the idea has always been, what if Drake May is good? He might not be good, but what if Drake May really likes Jalen Polk? That's the question of the day, right? Like, because
that is not the question of the day, Coop. That's maybe the question of the day in your head.
It's the question of the day.
That's not the question of the day for most people.
Deep streamers. I mean, look at Malik Neighbors with he's just getting peppered with targets. What if Drake May gets the job and he loves Jalen Polk? You have to ask those questions.
You can ask that question, absolutely, but let's keep the New England propaganda to a little bit more of a minimum there. Dude, Drake May did not look good, and the offensive line did not look good, like for New England.
Long season.
I know it's a long season, but again, unless you're playing in a super flex league, you're not looking at Drake May at all. Maybe you're looking at Jalen Polk as like a waiver wire ad possible, streaming guy for, like depending on what the matchup is. But like, again, like how long are you going to keep a guy like that stashed on your bench? Would you rather stash Xavier Legette or would you rather stash Jalen Polk at this point?
Legette, we have him ahead. These stashes articles go deep. They go deep. That's why we're mentioning Jalen McMillan, right? Like he's not really doing a whole lot either. But the idea is, what if we get the cataclysm that changes things, right? Like Amon-Ra St. Brown as a rookie didn't do anything until week 11. And then from that point on, he was gangbusters. Hunter Renfrow that same year, useless until Darren Waller got hurt and a bunch of guys got hurt, and then he was awesome. It's like with Jalen Polk, we're looking at it and saying, at some point, the quarterback's going to change, and then we'll see what things look like. And if it doesn't look good, we'll drop him. But there's so many guys out there that don't have the opportunity to lead their team in targets, right? It's like, are we going to be hanging on to, third or fourth fiddle guys for other teams, or give ourselves a shot at upside? That's all.
Well, it depends on who the third or fourth guy is, like that's like, all right, Luke McCaffrey, Washington.
Luke McCaffrey has more points than Christian McCaffrey. Just so.
Yes, he does. Not the point here. The point is that, Luke McCaffrey kind of splitting slot snaps with Noah Brown, recently, but still has the edge in snaps, saw the same number of targets, gets red zone looks there as well. Got a good matchup here against Arizona, who has been struggling against the slot receiver as well. Where do you put McCaffrey in realms of guys like Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, or, even Xavier Legette?
For me, when I build my lineup, it's split into three sections. There's the starters. There's the people that I'm going to have to use. And let me tell you, if you don't think that section just needs to be bigger, here come the bye weeks, starting week 5. Okay. So take all the injuries and add bye weeks onto that. You're going to need a good section of guys you can trust. After that, I only care about upside. I don't care about floor at all. So for me, like once I get through that section of like, okay, if I have a bye week, I might have to throw Luke McCaffrey in there. After that, I don't care. So for me, if I'm down in that bottom section, I'm taking Jalen Polk over Luke McCaffrey because I think his upside's higher. But his floor is obviously 0. But all I care about is upside in that group.
The floor is lava.
Floor is lava, exactly. You get it. But the ceiling, ceiling might not be great either. But we'll see.
All right, let's because we've hit now tight ends, we've hit wide receivers, we've hit running backs. We actually have not touched too much on the quarterbacks here. And I got a question here from John Sink. In a Superflex league, he's got Levis, Skyler, and Tua. So now he needs to go and does he get Tyler Huntley? I guess Todd Boyle is going to be an option there.
Yeah.
I don't think he's an option. I don't think Boyle's an option. Or Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Huntley. I know Heineke was thrown in there, but I don't think he's going to be a guy. So this has to be his, like he's looking for somebody he can start right now.
Probably. Because he's got Skyler and Tua and Levis. Yeah, he definitely needs somebody to start this week.
I think Huntley is the only one that is startable. Like for me, because I draw the line myself at like Malik Willis because he runs a little bit and Tyler Huntley runs a little bit. So like otherwise, you just got to do what a lot of us do sometimes and start a position player in your Superflex spot.
In your Superflex, yeah.
So because like what is Taylor Heineke going to do? I've seen so much Taylor Heineke with good players. Last year he played with Bijan and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and you know what I mean? It's like no Tim Boyle either.
Well, it's a run first system there, and you just lost 2 offensive linemen. Also, your 2 best offensive linemen.
Right.
You want to throw Taylor Heineke out there? That's to me, Huntley is definitely the one that you go and you get over there. Any other quarterbacks in your waiver article to talk about besides Drake May?
Yeah. So for non-Superflex, because in Superflex you got to start thinking like, who could get benched, right? And the thing is, Justin Fields probably, now that they're the hottest team in football, 3-0, probably not going to get benched anymore. But, Russell Wilson, like guys like that, you got to kind of stash. I mean, again, Drake May, somebody that could start at some point, but you never know there. For me, the top ads are for normal leagues, single QB leagues, are Sam Darnold and Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is willing to run. We don't care about how well he throws. Can't make that clear enough. And he can throw a touchdown pass. If you like this week, if he throws a touchdown pass and runs one in, that's 20 points. Like, done deal. So you got to get him in there. For streamers, it's Justin Fields if you can get him, or Geno Smith against the Lions. I think that the Seahawks are a good offense. We like Ryan Grubb. Geno Smith out there in an odd number of leagues. Like, he's out there in a decent amount. Also, I hate it personally. I would rather lose every single one of my leagues, but Daniel Jones is, what is he, QB 13 right now? He's firing the ball at Malik Neighbors the way that Eli used to fire it at Odell Beckham Jr. We know that Daniel Jones is willing to run. I know he runs a 4.8 coming off a torn ACL, but somehow he has escapability still. Like, he's still running. Like, so, I mean, if he's going to play like that, then that's a guy you can stream. Like, and just hope he scores a rushing touchdown, which is what streaming is at the quarterback position. I feel.
Again, check out all the waiver wire articles over at fantasyalarm.com. We've got videos here on our YouTube page over and over again. So make sure that you're checking all the content out that we provide, and a bunch of it's free. Some of it's subscription based. And if you want that, this is the QR code right up here to zap, or go to fantasyalarm.com/all-pro. And when you sign up for the monthly or the annual, you get a little 7-day free trial. Take it for a spin. Coop, I'm going to rapid fire some questions here, so that way we can try and close out this show. For the people, we'll start off with Double A here, who threw down his trade questions a little early, so I'm just going to throw it down to you here. Joe Mixon for David Montgomery and Deontay Johnson, or Joe Mixon for Josh Jacobs and Jawan Jennings? Now, he does have Henry. He's got Mixon. He's got Zamir White, Javonte Williams. He's got Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rashid Shaheed, and Cooper Kupp. Either one of those particular trades do anything for you?
Yeah, I don't like trading for guys like Juwan Jennings, because I think he goes back in the bottle. So I would, if you're going to do the trade, go for Montgomery and Deontay Johnson.
All right. Steven wants to know, he's got Trey McBride, worried about him. Is Dalton Schultz worth a pickup, or is there somebody else you prefer?
Yeah, I'm not. If I have McBride, I'm only looking for upside. So if you got to start somebody now, go for like Zach Ertz or Colby Parkinson. If you're looking for upside stash, there's reason to believe Hunter Henry still has some upside there. But Dalton Schultz is like the fourth target on his team. He's just not a play I like to make.
All right. Mateo Feo, Ugly Matty says Ertz or Pat. So Ertz or Fryermuth this week for a waiver ad?
Fryermuth, we're loving Muth, man. His usage is good, and we're just hoping that the volume goes up. And as Fields gets more comfortable, maybe it will.
Who are you prioritizing in waivers, Roshan Johnson or Cordarrelle Patterson in the FFPC?
If they go in your lineup, it's Patterson. Otherwise, it's Johnson.
All right. Desi Roll coming in from Twitch, but no, not in Twitch anymore. Desi's back here in the YouTube realm. Got Devontae Adams in my flex. Should I trade him for Stephon Diggs and Devon Achane?
Yes. If somebody would do that, they're outside of their mind. Hit that immediately, and then don't answer any questions in the chat when people complain.
There you go. Oh, you can get your Twitch glasses going now,
nice.
if you want. Here we go, because Brad McCoy, 24, looking at his bench, would you guys make any moves off of this roster? It's tough to analyze like a full roster like that without knowing who else is there, but I'm looking at this team here of Saquon and JT and Amon-Ra and DJ Moore. No, there's nobody on waivers that I'm thinking that you're
looks
going
pretty
to drop
good
and add for any of these guys.
Yeah, it looks awesome, man. Maybe since you have Bowers, maybe trade Goddard while he's hot before AJ Brown gets back for if you get something good. But yeah, package Goddard and Zamir White for something.
Yeah. Mile High Luke trying to figure out this Denver situation. Blake Watson, Audric Estime still lingering. I'm not interested in either one of those guys at this point right now.
No.
Curdy wants to know, what are your thoughts on Anthony Richardson trying to add either Cousins or Caleb Williams? What's your take on A-Rich here? To me, I'll be honest with you. I'm trying to I was looking at a bunch of video. just looks like the dude's got the yips.
Yeah,
Like, I know that that's not something that you see Yeah, like I know that that's not something that you see very much from quarterbacks, but he's just sailing every throw too far away from the receivers here. I think he's kind of wrapped up in his head right now.
Lamar Jackson does that every once in a while, and Kyler Murray did it the first couple weeks of the year. I mean, Kyler Murray went 0 for 7 on passes over 10 yards. I mean, when you're moving around like that, it's kind of hard to calibrate sometimes. I'm buying Anthony Richardson. Just we saw what it can look like. Look at Jaden Daniels. He had a down week and then laser show last night, right? So I think we know Anthony Richardson can hit home runs and we know he can do with his legs. So those are the players I try and get.
Coop, which tight end do you want to add here this week? Hunter Henry, Colby Parkinson, Tyler Conklin.
If you are starting the player, it's probably got to be Colby Parkinson, but I still prefer Hunter Henry.
Okay. A guy yesterday said that he would trade me Burrow for Ford and Tolbert. Given Burrow's play yesterday, if he wants more, do I add to it? Too much to give Scary Terry and Ford? Trade me Burrow for Ford. Are you giving up, first of all, are you giving up Ford and Tolbert for Burrow? Yes or no?
Yes, that I'm doing, but the Terry and Ford, no.
How Terry and Ford seems a little bit too much.
Terry, how is you swapping Tolbert out for Terry? That's totally different trade.
Any value holding on to Jalen Wright and Ray Davis? I think so. I mean, he's considering dropping one of these for Khalil Herbert. I think you're just spinning your wheels there.
Yeah, spinning the wheels. Hold on to those two. If you're going to drop somebody for a different player, I would drop Jalen Wright because he had the opportunity to fill in for Raheem Mostert, and they haven't really done that, So he probably needs 2 injuries.
Yeah. And yes, Ann, finally I got the Twitch glasses. I had them last time.
You did. Where were you, Ann? Where were you last?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Once again, everybody, we appreciate you guys tuning in here. As always, everything we've got and we've been talking about here, we've got over at fantasyalarm.com. You don't want to miss out on it. We've got free content. We've got pay content. We've got everything from season long to betting to DFS, everything you could possibly want for the NFL. And again, this QR code right up top here, fantasyalarm.com/allpro. Sign up. Use that promo code Let's Go if you're doing the monthly and take it for a 7-day free trial spin. Absolutely. One last one here. Shmuley trying to sneak one in on us. Is giving up JJ for Kamara insane? Would you give up Justin Jefferson for Alvin Kamara?
As the leader of the Alvin Kamara fan club this year, no. I'm not trading Justin Jefferson for nothing. That guy is too good. He's awesome. He's too good.
He's too good, and he's awesome, and that's how we close out today's show. Again, Coop and I will be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk trades. We'll do lineup questions, everything you could possibly need. We're going to have on tomorrow's show. So appreciate you guys tuning in. For Andrew Cooper, I'm Howard Bender. This has been Alarm Fantasy Football.